Here's a row of costumes that we have from famous or not so famous people. At the front here, we have one of Max Miller's costumes. His hat, which he always used to paint his hat so it kept in shape. So it's a trilby with a painted white lip, and a photograph of him actually wearing this suit. It's the only photograph I can find, and I've matched up the patterns on here because he's got black lapels. Most of his costumes, the lapels were made from the same material. Oh, and his famous phrase, "There'll never be another lady." And his other one was, "When I'm dead and gone, it's all finished." Well, he died in 1963. About that period, it started to finish because the Metropolitan Music Hall in Edgware Road was demolished in '63. And that's how the British Musical Society was founded, by two of the gentlemen who went to see the final show there. On their way back, they said, "We can't let this just die away." So they rang round some friends and they formed the British Musical Society, and that was Gerald Glover and Ray Mackender.
We both had an interest in musical. I don't know where my interest came from, or Ray's, but we were interested in the style of entertainment, musical and variety. And Ray always was able to speak to, and would go backstage and introduce himself and speak to people and engage. So we made quite a few friends amongst performers, people like Randolph Sutton.
Adored Randolph Sutton. At the presentation and the way he came to the front of the stage, to wherever the footlights were, we had footlights, and to encourage or engage the audience, he would lean forward over the footlights to engage you in the song or songs he was doing. And apart from that, he was a smashy bloke.
One of the reasons that we all like Randolph Sutton so much was that he had such interesting numbers. He had a lovely song about My Little Dogs Come Home,
yes.
And then a song about children, we're going to the circus.
Yes.
And of course on Mother Kelly's doorstep, he'll finish his act with that, Bring the House Down. Another gentleman. So we'd been to see a music hall bill, I can't tell you exactly what one. So as we're walking home, Ray said, "All this is going to go soon, you know, Gerald." And by this time, Ray and I had made quite a lot of contacts with guys who collected records, ladies who collected photographs, things like that, connections. So Ray said, "We ought to start a club." And in fact, Ray put an advertisement in the Daily Telegraph. It was announced that there would be a meeting to discuss a club to preserve music hall and variety. And I can't remember, but lots of people came. Slightly prior to that, we'd been very friendly with an ex-musical comedy star, film star, singer called Ada Reeve. And she was quite old then, but a wonderful character. So at the inaugural meeting in September 1963, Ada was present amongst all these other visitors. We'd invited Don Ross, who'd been really interested in the idea of a society to propagate musical and variety because of his Thanks for the Memory show, which had been such a success. So my memory is that Don came and we asked him if he would be president, which he said he would. There was a discussion as to what it was going to be called, and Don said, "Why don't you just call it the British Music Hall Society?" Then there was a discussion as to how much the membership was going to be. Is it going to be 10 shillings? Eventually somebody said, "Well, I think it was Ray, well, it ought to be at least £1. Pause. And Ada Reeve said, "Make it a guinea, dear, make it a guinea."
Yes, make it a guinea.
So at that meeting, amongst many others, was Johnny Cliff and his then partner Johnny Martin.
And we were made most welcome, and Don Ross and whatever were there. And that's when sort of one word led to the other. Was going to start the society. And that's when, would it be okay, if that's the right word, for me to become the treasurer?
Which is where I first met Johnny, September 1963.
God, we
That's
could go on
interesting, yes.
forever.
So that's how we started back in 1963, because they were going to demolish the Metropolitan Music Hall. Now this is our London Palladium drawer. We've got lots of Palladium posters in here of different people. Here's an earlier one with George Robey, Dickie Valentine, and these are all Palladium posters in here. And I found these in all different places and I put them all together in this drawer. We've got DVDs of British Musical Society events, like we might take a film of the ball or a lunch, or like Roy Hudd at the City Variety Leeds, or like this one of Danny LaRue. We had a tribute to Danny LaRue last year at the Water Rats pub in King's Cross, and we invited along a number of people who worked with Danny. So we had people like Barry Cryer and obviously Roy Hudd.
We did a tribute to him much later on, and he was in the audience. We all turned up. And I said, we're all here today for you, Dan, because you were always there for us.
That's right.
He was very good for us.
He was very good. He did look after us, didn't he, really? We didn't get a lot of money, but he really
Yeah, it was good. We got lots of other different things. This first drawer has got photographs in, and oh, here's a good photograph here. You've got Bester Tilly here, and you've got Florrie Forde and Lily Morris, and that was taken in 1928. As you can see, we've got a number of bookshelves here. When I first took over as archivist, we didn't have quite so many books, and this section here was our autobiographies or biographies in alphabetical order. But that's gone to pot now, because we now have another load of shelves over here, and these are all autobiographies, and you'll be pleased to know there's another load of books behind this one. So I think we must have about 2,000 different books. Yeah, and the other drawers here, extra large posters, like some here, who we've got here. Donald Pearce, the Cavalier of Song. Go to another costume here. We had a scarf belonging to Hetty King with her monogram on the scarf, which is really nice. And here is one of her costumes, a coat. And if you look inside the coat, in the inside pocket, you can see it comes from Savile Row. Miss Hetty King, 24th of January 1927. And over here, as you can see, we've got sheet music. Hundreds and hundreds of them, all catalogued now. The way I became the archivist was in 2012. Our current archivist at the time, Max Tyler, was either 80 or approaching 80, and understandably he wanted to retire. And the mad fool that I am, I said, oh, I'll do it. And moving down to the next drawer, still large posters again. What we got here? Oh, the Prince of Wales Theatre. Lonnie Donegan, our Skiffle King, and Anne Shelton, lovely singer, very popular in the 40s. Everything was in cardboard boxes, and you know what cardboard boxes like when you pile them up on top of each other, they squash. So over the period that I've been here, I gradually changed everything into plastic boxes, and I'm also cataloguing everything onto a computer. A list of all the sheet music we have a list of all the books and all the programs and posters and everything else, so that if somebody rings me at home and says, have you got anything by Fred Smith, I can check different areas and say yes or no. And here we have a jacket that belonged to Bud Flanagan. We got a few of Bud Flanagan's costumes, but we know it's Bud Flanagan because if you look here, it says stolen from Bud Flanagan. Oh, on top here is a handwritten letter from Marie Lloyd. She's writing to her cleaners because she wants Ben, that's Ben Dillon, she wants his dressing gown back because they're going off to America. But of course, when they got to America, this is 1913, they were arrested because they were booked into a hotel together and they weren't married. And the Americans at that period were very prudish. These were given to us by Roy Hudd. They belonged, or used to belong, to Chung Ling Soo. Now, who's Chung Ling Soo? The big story is, whilst appearing at Wood Green Empire, doing his act where his wife shot a bullet and he caught it in his mouth. But this particular performance, she shot her blank bullet and killed her husband because it was a live bullet. And we'll never know whether it was an accident or perhaps he was playing away. Who knows? Here we have Bruce Foresight. I'm in charge, it says. That comes from Sunday night at the London Palladium because he was the presenter. He took over from Tommy Trinder. Shirley Bassey, who came from Tiger Bay in South Wales. Dick Emery. Oh, you must remember Dick on television with his "Oh, you are awful, but I like you." Ivan Emmanuel up there on the corner. He is a Welsh singer as well. Joan Regan, a lovely singer. Sadly had a bad accident in America when she slipped and fell in the bath and cracked her head on the tiles, and she was paralysed and speechless for a couple of years until they gradually got her back to normal.
She was a very, very, very pleasant person.
Oh, wonderful.
And apparently she was married to a doctor, and I don't think entirely happily, but that doesn't affect the story. And she slipped in the shower and crashed her head against the wall and had a hemorrhage presumably, but brain damage, and she had to be taught or teach herself how to speak again. It fascinated me, and she stuck at it. She had a faith, she was staunch Roman Catholic, and she said, and I believe it too, helped her. Joan Regan, when she was popular, married the box office manager of the London Palladium. His name was Harry Claff. And Harry Claff was into horse racing or betting on horses.
Great gambler. A wonderful lady, a wonderful person, great fun, and just got on with it. Not I'm a star.
Yes, so the upshot was that at the Palladium, Sammy Davis was booked. There was a huge advance, which was milked by Harry Claff. And Sammy Davis, he appeared for 2 of 4 weeks. And Harry Claff didn't have a chance to repay what he'd milked out of the box office. So it besmirched Joan Regan's name. She was really upset. Even when she told us about it, she was still upset. He went to prison and she forgave him and went on with her life.
Alma Cogan, she was the biggest selling British singer of the 50s. She had 18 hits in all. Then on the next one you got Ronnie Carroll, another popular singer who one time was married to Millicent Martin. Gladys Morgan underneath, she was famous for her wonderful cackle. And of course under there you have Mrs. Shufflewick. Yeah, the famous Mrs. Shufflewick.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, a big welcome for Mrs. Shufflewick. Mrs. Shufflewick shuffled up and said, "Look at the dust up there."
Look at this, look at the price.
I'd love to have been there, wouldn't you? Oh dear.
About 8 or 10 years old, I used to write down a list of songs on a sheet of paper, current ones or old ones. In those days they were musical songs, and when I went to bed at night I used to get my list out and have a sing through a medley of songs. Isn't that sad? there's anyone out there who would like to donate something to the archive, be it a costume or a Trilby hat or a programme or a poster, if it falls into our music hall variety era, get in contact with us via the British Musical Society's website, which is britishmusichallsociety.com.